Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the RGC Research Summit 2025, co-organized by the University Grants Committee, UGC, Research Grants Council, RGC, and the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. My name is Xavier Yao, and it is my absolute pleasure to be your MC for today. Before we begin, we will observe a moment of silence in memory of the victims of the recent Wangfu Court fire disaster in Tai Po District in Hong Kong. Our thoughts are with the families and those who are affected by this tragic incident. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please rise and let's observe a moment of silence to remember those who lost their lives. Thank you all. Please be seated. So now, let's begin our summit. Under the theme, Forging Frontiers, Shaping the Future of Knowledge and Discoveries, today's event brings together brilliant minds from across disciplines to spark collaboration and shape a brighter and more innovative future. And now, to begin with, let's welcome our host, Professor Timothy Tong, Chairman of Research Grants Council, to come on stage to deliver his opening remarks. Professor Tong, please.
Good morning. First order of business, may I invite you to join me in welcoming our officiating guest, Dr. Christine Choi, Secretary for Education. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you for joining us this morning. Dr. Choi, Presidents and Vice Presidents, Vice Chancellors, distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Research Grants Council, sometimes we just call it RGC, it's my pleasure to extend a warm welcome to all of you to the inaugural RGC Research Summit. To officially begin this summit, I want to express my heartfelt thanks to our renowned local and overseas speakers, including those who travel from afar, to our university leaders, researchers, and to our young scientists and students for joining us today. Your support is a testament to our shared belief in the power of research excellence in shaping our common future. The first ever RGC Research Summit titled Forging Frontiers, Shaping the Future of Knowledge and Discovery, has been highlighted by the Chief Executive in his 2025 policy address as part of the government's efforts in deepening international exchange and cooperation. This summit launches a new platform for dialogue between different players in the research value chains. We are here not merely to observe the frontiers of knowledge, but to actively forge them. Recognizing the most complex challenges of our time demand a collaborative global response, we are organizing this event to share and find ways to work together as a scientific community. The RGC, established in 1991, is a non-statutory advisory council operated under the aegis of the University Grants Committee to advise the government on Hong Kong's higher education research needs and promote research excellence. We support Hong Kong's higher education institutions with competitive research grants, and over the past 35 years, the RGC has served as a dedicated steward of Hong Kong's research ecosystem. We have committed to invest in academic excellence, innovation, and bringing benefits to our city, our nation, and the world. The RGC has grown from modest beginnings in 1991 with an annual budget of $100 million, Hong Kong dollars, to a principal funding agency for academic research in Hong Kong with an annual funding commitment in 2024/25 at a substantial level of 2.7 billion Hong Kong dollars. The increase in funding has been 27-fold, and it has enabled the RGC to set up a diverse array of funding schemes to meet the different research needs of our researchers. At present, the RGC administers more than 20 competitive research grants and fellowship schemes, serving different objectives, from supporting individual discovery to areas of excellence and those involving partners outside of academia. In recent years, the RGC's funding supports more than 1,500 new projects every year. Additionally, research collaboration between the UGC-funded universities and overseas institutions has increased substantially from 4,200 projects in 2014 to over 8,000 today. These figures are more than just statistics. They testify to the fact that Hong Kong higher education is one of the most internationalized in the world. We are a city that has chosen to invest in knowledge, innovation, and scientific discovery. A premier place for carrying out international research collaboration and pursuing new areas of knowledge. Furthermore, the government has renewed a policy initiative called Research Matching Grant Scheme, or simply RMGS, this year. The RMGS was launched with a funding commitment of 3 billion Hong Kong dollars in 2019 for Hong Kong's degree awarding universities. This scheme has encouraged the private sector and philanthropic institutions to strengthen their financial support for research and development. More than 5.3 billion Hong Kong dollars in aggregate has been donated for research under this matching grant scheme, indicating success in diversifying sources of research funding for the Hong Kong higher education sector. And we are keeping up our momentum, and with the second round introduced in May this year. So in sum, you will be pleased to learn that the ratio of R&D expenditure to the gross domestic product in Hong Kong has increased remarkably from 0.73% in 2012 to around 1.11% in 2023. With the government's continuous funding support and a conducive research environment in our universities, Hong Kong has become a welcoming home for innovative ideas with exciting opportunities for more collaborations. Today's program has been carefully curated to have 3 prominent university leaders to provide visionary perspectives on the evolving research landscape. This will be followed by a roundtable dialogue with our heads of universities, and then 3 thematic panel discussions that delve deeply into 3 critical themes, including interdisciplinary research, global collaboration, and research impact and trends. Our luncheon talk, given by an industrial leader, will cover topics on innovation, entrepreneurship, and talent development. The afternoon will be full of exciting presentations from the project teams, who are funded under the Collaborative Research Fund and the Research Impact Fund of RGC. Their work speaks in growing role of Hong Kong's research community in contributing to impactful research for the broader Greater Bay Area and beyond. Finally, today's summit will conclude with a roundtable session with some of our former chairs of RGC speaking on the next 35 years. They will explore how RGC should position its role to support Hong Kong's research community in facing the challenges and seize the opportunity of Hong Kong's unique position under our one country, two system framework, which gives us the best of both worlds: seamless access to the Chinese mainland and unfettered connectivity with the world. Before closing, I'd like to express our heartfelt appreciation again to the many distinguished speakers, locally, nationally, as well as around the world, including the United States, the United Kingdom, the United Arab Emirates, Switzerland, and France. We are really honored to have you with us today, offering your valuable insights. An event of this scale and ambition is only possible through partnership with our 8 public universities, including City University of Hong Kong, Hong Kong Baptist University, Lingnan University, the Chinese University of Hong Kong, the Education University of Hong Kong, the Hong Kong Polytechnic University, the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, and the University of Hong Kong. Our special thanks goes to the Hong Kong Polytechnic University for co-hosting this summit and providing all the essential support. Our PolyU colleagues, and I saw a bunch of them earlier, their dedication and hard work have been indispensable in bringing us all together today. So, I hope this summit will ignite meaningful conversations and spark innovative ideas. Let us forge new frontiers of knowledge and share in the exciting future of discoveries. Thank you, and I wish you all a productive, insightful summit. Now may I invite Professor J.G. Teng, President of the Hong Kong Polytechnic University, to come and share his remarks with us. J.G.?
Dr. Christine Choi, Professor Timothy Tong, distinguished guests and speakers, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of the Hong Kong Polytechnic University, I would like to thank you all for joining the RGC Research Summit 2025. I understand this is the inaugural RGC Research Summit. I believe that you will have many more to come in the future. PolyU is honored to be a co-organizer of this inaugural Research Summit. And this event brings together leading researchers and academics, university leaders, industry leaders, and distinguished former RGC chairman for insightful and thought-provoking speeches and discussions, fostering knowledge exchange and addressing key questions related to the evolving research landscape in Hong Kong and beyond. And I would like to especially extend my appreciation to the Secretary for Education, Dr. Christine Choi, for gracing us with her presence today. I'm sure Christine has been very busy over the last 2 weeks especially. I'm also grateful to all our esteemed guests and speakers, especially those of you who traveled far distances to come to Hong Kong. This summit, as we know, is taking place at a especially important moment because the next January will mark the 35th anniversary of the establishment of the Research Grants Council. It, of course, began in 1991, and I myself, as an example, is, of course, among many who have benefited from this financial support for research from the Research Grants Council. My own first proposal to the Research Grants Council was in 1995, receiving the money in 1996. It was a good proposal with a score of 5 out of 5. We received $0.85 million, so I was very happy. Although by the time I stopped applying a few years ago, before I became president, and I had another good proposal, 5 out of 5, I still received $0.8 million. This does not mean that the RGC has been stagnant. In fact, the RGC had made a decision that this GIF, it used to be called a competitive earmarked CERG, right, research grant. And this has continued to benefit as many young people and older ones as well as possible. So they have maintained a high success rate, or relatively high compared to some other universities, other countries. In fact, because this is also important in Hong Kong, because in universities, we often use the success rate of their GRF proposal, now it's called the General Research Fund, proposal success rate, as maybe the primary yardstick to judge whether this person actually is good enough to get tenure. And that says how much confidence we place in the system, the integrity of the peer assessment of the system. I served myself on the engineering panel for many years, and I had first-hand experience of the thoroughness, of the impartiality of the assessment. So this, I think, is a very important hallmark of the Research Grants Council. So even though the amount of money you get through our GIF is not changed much, RGC has got a lot more money, as Tim has mentioned, and has received many more applications. James told me this morning the number of applications received now is 83 times of what they got, in the beginning. And then, of course, over the years, it has launched many other schemes: Collaborative Research Fund, Research Impact Fund, Strategic Topic, Theme-Based Research, and AOE, Area of Excellence. So now there's a lot more money, and there are a lot of other schemes which are in collaboration with various countries. So there has been a lot more money going into the RGC system. And this has been the backbone for the development of Hong Kong's universities, and we all feel very proud that we have 5 universities in the top 100 in the world by some rankings, and of course RGC has been a major contributor to the success of the universities. Over the last 10 years, of course, the Hong Kong government and our national government has given us a new position. Hong Kong has to become an international center for innovation and technology. Now we also aspire to become an international hub for studying in Hong Kong, as a place for destinations of international students. So there's a lot more for us to achieve. And I'm sure that RGC, together with the other funding bodies in Hong Kong, will enable us to scale new heights in the future. At PolyU, we have set up many organizations to do organized interdisciplinary research to address societal challenges. We have also set up many research institutes in the mainland for translational research. And RGC over the years has also stimulated this development by including, or this is RGC or together with UGC, by including the element of impact into research assessment. So with all these visionary measures, I am sure that RGC will further excel and will propel Hong Kong to greater heights in research and development and innovation. So finally, I wish all of you a most fruitful and inspiring summit. Thank you so much. And if you are not happy with any of the aspects of this event, you can email the President Office of PolyU, because my colleagues have been, part of the organization team. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Tong. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, just a gentle reminder, there will be no applause expected throughout the summit in memory of the tragic loss of the recent unfortunate incident. Thank you very much for your understanding. And now, without any further ado, may I please invite our guest of honor, Dr. the Honorable Christine Choi Yuk-lin, Secretary for Education, to come on stage to share a few words with us. Let's welcome Secretary Choi.
Chairman Nui, Professor Tong, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my honor to join the University Grant Council and the Research Grant Council today for this premier research summit, a historic milestone marking the Council's magnificent journey over the past 3.5 decades. I'm truly privileged to join such a distinguished gathering of academic leaders, outstanding scholars, and innovative industry and business leaders. A very warm welcome to all of you. The government and our society at large are heartened to witness the remarkable leaps of our universities in recent years, which have been widely recognized in the global higher education arena. Hong Kong is home to 5 of the world's top 100 universities and boasts a vibrant community of world-class scholars and welcomes international exchange and collaboration. Located at the meeting point of East and West, Hong Kong's collaborative spirit, intellectual curiosity, and innovative thinking have positioned itself as the forefront of scientific and academic advancements in the region, attracting some of the brightest talent from around the globe. We have doubled our efforts to attract top talents with the launch of Hong Kong, Your World-Class Campus, under the 2025 policy address. These initiatives highlight Hong Kong's unique advantages and further promotes our universities and the city's appeal as a premier study destination and knowledge hub. With worldwide recognition, the government is confident of and committed to realizing our vision in developing Hong Kong into an international hub for high-caliber talent, post-secondary education, and innovative research. While we look forward to the launch of the Northern Metropolis University Town in the near future, the government has taken active and concrete steps to support the growth of research and innovation in Hong Kong. With the increase in research funding, we now have 7,200 publicly funded research postgraduate students, including 400 PhD students through the well-received Hong Kong PhD Fellowship Scheme, and 60 RGC Junior Research Fellows award annually to support postdoctoral research, so that younger scholars will have the opportunity to embark their research career here. With the further relaxation on the admission of non-local academic students, we are expecting the highest internationalized intake ever of both undergraduate and postgraduate students. Starting from the 2026-27 academic year, the enrollment ceiling for self-financing non-local students in torch programs at the UGC-funded universities will be further raised from 40% of local student places to 50%, together with the increase of the over-enrollment ceiling of UGC-funded research postgraduate programs from 100% to 120%. Injecting further impetus into our higher education, the government has recently announced the establishment of a new medical school to elevate Hong Kong's position as a hub for medical education and innovation, with the first intake expected in 2028. Hong Kong is well aligned with the national blueprint set out in the master plan on building China into a leading country in education 2024 to 2035, which aims to build world-class universities and interdisciplinary academic disciplines. With these new developments, we look forward to welcoming more outstanding students and young researchers to Hong Kong. Their fresh perspective and enthusiasm will inject new energy into our academic community, fostering a vibrant environment where innovative and impactful research can flourish. By attracting top talents from around the world, we are strengthening our capacity to address global challenges, drive scientific breakthroughs, and solidifying Hong Kong's standing as a premier destination for pioneering research and education. Indeed, we need such cross-sectoral, cross-generation, cross-regional, and cross-cultural synergies that arise from intellectual and interdisciplinary collaborations. They are conducive to Hong Kong's development and benefit not only our city, but also our nation and the world. Such endeavors are particularly important at a time when innovative technologies such as AI are impacting our daily lives and society in multiple areas, including city management, transport services, recreation and culture, medical and health, welfare, security, finance, and business applications. We are committed to supporting the UGC and RGC's efforts in nurturing our pool of emerging research talent and taking forward innovative research, both of which are essential for Hong Kong's position as Asia's international city. Hong Kong is ready to grow into a strategic hub for innovation through more joint research initiatives and endeavors. We have a strong track record of outstanding and impactful research, as demonstrated by the success of our university's performance in recent research assessment exercises conducted by peer experts from around the world. In this regard, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our academic leaders, in particular our President and past RGC Chairman. The success and solid foundation we enjoy today are the fruits of your wisdom and legacy over the past 35 years. You are the forerunner who have shaped the path leading to our success in research and in nurturing generations of young scholars. The government will continue to support the UGC and the RGC in their partnership for international exchange and innovative research. We are certainly privileged to have such a gathering of brilliant minds here today. Their valuable advice will definitely serve as a beacon as we forge new frontiers and shape the future together. I wish the summit every success and all participants a fruitful and rewarding day. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Choi. Please remain on stage. Please remain on stage for a group photos. Today, we're honored to have invited distinguished educational leaders to enlighten us with their invaluable insights. So now, may I please invite our host and co-host to join us on stage for a group photos to commemorate our programs, including Professor Timothy Tong, SBS JP, Chairman of the Research Grant Council. Next, let's welcome Mr. Tim Lo, GBS JP, Chairman of the University Grants Committee. Next, let's welcome Professor Jin-guang, BBS JP, President of the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. And finally, let's welcome Professor James Teng, Secretary General, University Grants Committee. So now, our guests on stage, please look at our official photographer right in the center for a group photos. And now, all of our guests, please continue to remain on stage, as now we're going to proceed to the second group photos. May I please invite Professor S. Zhou Qin, President of Ningnan University. Next, let's welcome Professor John Lee, JP, President of the Education University of Hong Kong. Moving on, may I invite Professor Nancy Yip, SBS MHJP, President of the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. Moving on, may I invite Professor Martin Wong, Prof, Hong Kong Baptist University. Next, let's welcome Professor Anderson Shum, Vice President, Research, City University of Hong Kong. Moving on, may I invite Professor Mai Harsham, Vice Chancellor and Vice President, Research, the Chinese University of Hong Kong. And finally, may I please invite Professor Max Shen, Vice President and Vice Chancellor, Research, the University of Hong Kong. So now, with all of our guests ready on stage, please look at our official photographer right in the center. All right, please continue to hold for another photos. All right, thank you everyone. You may now be seated. Thank you very much for gracing our events with your presence today, and we can't wait to be enlightened by your insightful sharing. So the themes of the RGC Research Summit this year is Forging Frontiers, Shaping the Future of Knowledge and Discoveries. And through today's sharings, we're confident that we will gain insightful perspective from these experts. So meanwhile, we would like to invite everyone to join us for a big group photos. So our photographer will be coming up onto the stage. And can I please invite everyone to remain seated? And everyone, please look at our official photographer right in the center for a group photos. As we're so honored to have all of you joining us this morning for this insightful conference and sharings of the RGC Research Summit 2025. So everyone, please continue to remain seated and please look at our photographer right in the center on the stage. All right, so everyone please continue to look at our photographer on the stage. Okay, thank you everyone. So the themes of this year's RGC Research Summit is Forging Frontiers, Shaping the Future of Knowledge and Discoveries. So through today's sharings, we're very confident that we're going to gain insightful perspective from these educational experts. So now we're going to proceed to our first plenary sessions of keynote speeches titled Research Future, in which we will delve into the evolving frontiers of scientific discovery and innovations. So if you have any questions for our speakers, you may scan the QR code on the screen, and our moderator will select some questions for the discussions if time's allowed. And now, without any further ado, I would like to invite our first speakers of this session to come on stage. May I please invite Professor Jin-guang, Chancellor, Emeritus, and Distinguished Professor, University of California, Los Angeles, to come on stage to share his insight.
Good morning. I'd like to first thank Professors Tong and Teng, who've invited me to this great opportunity to speak at the Research Summit, and all the other leaders here today, and all of you. I'm really deeply appreciative of being here. I also want to express my deep sympathy to the families in Hong Kong impacted by the recent housing fire. This has affected the whole world, and I can tell you that the people in Los Angeles who have also experienced fires feel very strongly as a family with the people in Hong Kong. Let me say from the outset, from my vantage point, I believe that the linkages between academics in Hong Kong and the United States have the potential to remain robust, even at a time when global political issues have become complex and frankly very divisive. So let me try to provide some rationale for this viewpoint. First, there is an impressive legacy of Hong Kong-US academic relationships, a deep, long legacy. The level of academic leadership, many of the leaders of higher education institutions in Hong Kong have a history of education and research training at US institutions. And I'm just going to name a few that I'm familiar with. There are many more. So at CUHK, former President Rocky Tuan and Lawrence Lau, who happened to be my professor at Stanford decades ago, And the current president, Dennis Lowe, all have connections to the U.S. At HKUST, former President Tony Chan and the current president, Nancy Yip, also have connections. At HKU, former President Sulap Chi and the current president, Zhang Jiang, also have connections, deep connections, actually, with the United States. And of course, there are prominent scholars with Hong Kong origins who've made great contributions to US institutions, including my fellow presenter, President Emeritus Tony Chan, who is a celebrated mathematician, extraordinary mathematician, and former dean of physical sciences at my home institution, UCLA, many years ago. And of course, Berkeley remains very proud of the powerful research center that was created by President Zhang of HKU when he was a Berkeley faculty member. And there are many more, so the connections run deep. And of course, there's an enormously long history of high-impact research papers in the very best journals, co-authored by faculty at Hong Kong and at US institutions. So that all unites us, that history. A second factor that unites institutions in Hong Kong, the mainland, and the US are connections through engaged international academic networks. Perhaps the one that I'm most familiar about, and one that's been active in Hong Kong, is the Association of Pacific Rim Universities, or APRU, which includes mainland Hong Kong and many other universities around the Pacific Rim. And I note that the presidents of CUHK, HKUST, and HKU have all sat on the governing boards of APRU, and the former president of CUHK, President Rocky Tuan, was the recent board chair. So again, very close affiliation between Hong Kong universities, US universities, mainland universities, and others. And APRU has brought universities around the Pacific Rim together for joint research projects and some really novel educational experiences, such as the very innovative virtual study abroad program that CUH created during the pandemic, actually, the COVID pandemic, where students could get a virtual experience of Hong Kong, even though they probably never left their dorm at UCLA or other locations. There's also, obviously, a long history of joint graduate and undergraduate programs, student exchange. Just to name a few, a joint bachelor's program between the University of Hong Kong and Columbia University that allows students to earn 2 degrees in 4 years by completing their studies at both institutions. A Master's of Science in Global Finance program for working professionals between HKUST and NYU, a dual master's degree program of applied economics and social and economic policy between CUHK and Northwestern University, and a dual bachelor's program at the University of Hong Kong and UC Berkeley, where students spent 2 years at HKU and the last 2 years at UC Berkeley. This is just to name a few that I'm familiar with. There are many more of these programs that actually bring our students and our faculty together. Also, as I said, lots of student exchange opportunities. And the one I want to mention is our Hong Kong Polytechnic University co-host of this conference, which has a wide range of international exchange programs, and there are partner agreements with numerous institutions throughout the world, but many in the US, University of South Carolina, University of Southern California, and Kent State University. So there's an enormous number of opportunities for students from the US to spend time here, and also opportunity for Hong Kong students to spend time at US institutions. So obviously, there is a lot of forward motion in our relationships. However, we're all aware that there are new challenges to this momentum. The more recent challenges hindering collaboration between US institutions and those in Hong Kong primarily stem from geopolitical tensions, increased regulatory scrutiny by the US government on China ties, which also affects Hong Kong, and challenges related to policy changes within Hong Kong. So it seems clear to me that actions on both sides of the Pacific are having a negative impact on research and other educational collaborations. So some of those barriers. So the tough on China policy that's been approached by the US Congress has led to a climate of suspicion, unfortunately, with potential legislation aiming to ban collaborations with entities tied to countries deemed hostile. US academic and research institutions face mounting scrutiny over China ties, leading to a chilling effect on collaborations. Quite unfortunate. The US government has eliminated or suspended aspects of Hong Kong's differential treatment under US law, effectively treating it more like the mainland. These actions include strict export control regulations, especially concerning materials and data in sensitive fields like advanced semiconductors, quantum technologies, and AI. NIH policies that specifically prohibit sharing of biospecimens data with countries of concern, and that list includes Hong Kong and Macau. And from Hong Kong, there's been increased challenges due to the imposition of the National Security Law and the Safeguarding National Security Ordinance. In addition, there's uncertainty about international funding, with NIH having a more stringent review of international relationships, as well as new challenges in acquiring visas necessary for effective research collaborations. So all of this is deeply concerning, and at this point is having, I think, an impact on US, Hong Kong research relationships. But I also think it's important to recognize that beyond the difficult geopolitical challenges, there's more positive impacts going on in global higher education that are impacting and transforming historical relations between US and institutions in Asia. In the last 10 to 15 years, there's been a notable rebalancing where the great centers of learning are located, and consequently changing opportunity matrix for both faculty and students. The days of the US being the preferred place for students to come to get their advanced degrees or for faculty to visit for research collaborations may soon be a thing of the past. One can only be impressed by the dramatic rise in the prominence of Asian universities that create more local opportunities for students and faculty to pursue careers abroad. It is remarkable what we've seen with Asian universities. The increase in their prestige is really dramatic. I believe in the near future, so given all this, what's the way forward? How do we continue to have really productive relationships? So given the changes in the landscape, how do we move forward? I believe in the near future, collaborative research will need to thread the needle, to use a common phrase, being mindful of changes that have occurred both in the US and in Hong Kong. Operationally, this will mean selecting joint research endeavors that avoid sensitive areas impacting national security or politics. I think it's now well recognized that challenging areas of collaboration include artificial intelligence, autonomous systems, quantum computing, biotechnology, and some areas within the social sciences and humanities. Yet, there remain many research areas of global importance that should not encounter significant barriers. And I want to emphasize that there's an enormous amount of scholarship we can do together that I think avoids some of the sensitivities. These include research on aging and aging mobility, neurodegenerative disorders, mood disorders, particularly the global impact of depression, communicative diseases, environmental challenges, including global warming, fire and flood management, and many other areas, including agricultural research. So there's a huge number of areas of great concern, global concern, that we can easily work together on. So that's extremely encouraging. I think that's something that I think that some of our organizations like APRU can play a role in helping us build those relationships. Perhaps one of the greatest challenges in finishing up, one of the greatest challenges will be ensuring funding for joint US-Hong Kong research efforts. This is a challenge. At present, there are truly few international funding agencies, a rare example being the Human Frontiers of Science Foundation. Given the increased restrictions on government support for international collaborations, and this is government support, I mean by the US government, I believe we may need to enhance our efforts to identify creative philanthropic sources to support research. As we recognize, this was an early model for scholarship, literally from the Renaissance, when wealthy patrons provided financial support for intellectual activities. But now, more than ever, I think it's important to find more additional philanthropic support for international collaborations. A recent study by Sheckman et al. In the journal Scientific Reports looked at the philanthropy of institutions in the US that support science and education, and this is really remarkable. They found the amount of philanthropy has grown steadily and now amazingly rivals the support provided by NIH or NSF. The philanthropic support is not perfect in many ways. It tends to be more locally distributed and obviously does not replace more peer-reviewed funding mechanisms. Nonetheless, it does provide an encouraging indication that philanthropy may be able to play an important role, certainly in this interim period when government funding may become more difficult. So I think this is really worth us pursuing, perhaps through our international organizations. So in summary, let me conclude with a sense of optimism. The relationship between academic institutions in Hong Kong and the United States are deep and meaningful. Even in the most difficult geopolitical situations, there's always some alignment of need vectors. Every society needs its population to remain healthy, both physically and mentally, and needs to be safe from environmental hazards and the vicissitudes of nature. There's a lot here that we can work on collaboratively, both presently and in the future. So one could look at the glass as half empty or half full. As a believer in half full, I'm confident that our scholars will continue to find ways to work together for the common good, has been their practice for decades. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Block. So please remain on stage and please be seated on stage. Thank you. Now, may I please invite Professor Dame Madeleine Atkins, former Chief Executive of the Higher Education Funding Council for England, to share her insight with us. Welcome, Professor Atkins.
Dr. Christine Choi, Secretary of Education, Chairman, Chief Executives, Presidents, colleagues, good morning. And my condolences to the city and to all those now seeking to put things right and to make sure that such a disaster does not happen again. I was asked to talk, let me try and get this working. There we go. I was asked to talk about what we know about successful research collaboration and partnerships. And this is not focused on Hong Kong. This is the analysis that we did when the UK, facing the Brexit vote, suddenly realized what we were going to lose in terms of international research collaboration. Let me say, as a researcher, I was one of many who complained bitterly about Horizon programs, the bureaucracy, the lack of indirect cost recovery. Does that sound familiar? The length of time, and so on and so on. But when we were faced with its loss, we knew the most important thing that our government could do was to buy our way back in, which we have done. And these were the factors that our universities, our leading researchers, identified as the most important features of a system that supports really good international research collaboration. And they're here. It was not the money, it was the networks that we didn't want to lose, both personal networks, research group to research group networks. It wasn't so much the money, it was the mobility programs for every stage of a research career, from your early career researchers right through to your emeritus distinguished professors. It was not so much the money, it was the form of research that the money enabled. And in particular, with the European Research Council, it was, if you will, the patient capital, the funding that allowed eminent researchers to put together a program with colleagues and then to see what emerged and to follow those insights, not necessarily those that they had anticipated at the start of the research, over time, funding of time. So those were, and still are, I think, determinants of really effective research collaboration structures and frameworks. Now, the question then is, how do we navigate the present? And I think there are three obvious challenges, one of which at least has been touched on by my previous speaker, and I think there are two opportunities, also one of which overlaps. Apart from mainland China, many governments are now signaling to universities that funding of universities is not necessarily the top priority. Indeed, there are many others in the list above universities for government attention. And this leads the research funding to come under a number of shaping pressures, I would say. The first of which is to try and encourage us in universities to align our research interests with the priorities of government of the time. And those priorities are very similar across pretty much all developed Western countries, and some of them have been identified. And it does, of course, include aging populations, migration, AI, quantum, and so on. In the UK, just a few weeks ago, our minister said, okay, for the next 5 years of our government, there are going to be 3 buckets for research funding. Not the most glamorous of receptacles, but nonetheless memorable, 3 buckets. 1 still for curiosity research, 1 to support national priorities, 1 for spin-outs, and this focus on starting our economy or getting our economy moving through startups and successful spin-outs. I think the second pressure that is coming through is to play to strengths. We hear this in the UK, this suggestion to universities that they should identify their research strengths, that is where the investment should go, that the weaker areas of their research portfolio should perhaps not get so much attention, but that overall in the system there will be sufficient strength to go forward. And the third, I think, is this strong direction towards impact, translational research, application into society for the common good, for the benefit of the economy and for social well-being more generally. And that's interesting, certainly as Chief Executive of the Funding Council, through the development of what we call the Research Excellence Framework, you call the RAE, you can see over the last 10, 15 years the introduction of impact, and just recently in the UK, quite a pushback from universities as the government endeavoured to move the dial further towards research environment as a measure of successful research, a successful research environment, and away from publications as the measure of research virility. And I just hold on to that point because it comes up again in a minute. Now, the next obvious issue is geopolitics, already been well mentioned by the previous speaker, and oh, how good and how welcome Hong Kong is in this context. Absolutely at that cross between East and West, absolutely using its wisdom, its strategic capabilities, its convening power to enable collaboration to continue through the international hub which it represents. And long may that last, and I hope that that positioning prospers. We need it to, the whole world needs it to. But the issue that I just wanted to highlight here is on the scales, because those pressures in our current system mean that the left-hand pan, as you are looking at that, tends to get more attention, more investment, more funding. The right-hand pan tends to get less. And my argument is that we need both in order to be successful as a dynamic, forward-looking ecosystem of research collaboration. The left-hand pan is great for government. It's efficient, it builds on strengths, it gives predictable results, and it's good for universities because it provides stability of funding and an understanding of context and of guide rails that enable universities to develop their own research strategies within them. The danger is that the right-hand pan is not given as much attention, and so we lose the ability to support ambitious risk and that long-term patient funding. Those things begin to be less well supported. I said that there were, in addition to the current issues, that there were 2 opportunities. One of which I think is the new players that have entered into the research space, particularly, but not only the philanthropic players. The other, indeed, is the demand for more research in the interdisciplinary world of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. The new players. This has been very interesting, I think, in most developed countries. We are seeing not only more research funded through foundations and charities, some of them, of course, as in Hong Kong Jockey Club, the Croucher Foundation, of considerable power over many years and considerable positive contribution. Others more recent, and some reshaping their mission to have a clearer focus on the research that they want to support. Think of the Gates Foundation, the MasterCard Foundation, absolutely typical of what we now see. But also, and not least in mainland China, the arrival of ultra-high net worth individuals who wish now to enter this space to, even in mainland China, to build new universities, but certainly across the world to come into the research arena, often as a result of perceived frustration with what we're doing at the moment, that it is not sufficiently focused on application, that it isn't at sufficient scale in terms of impact, and that there are new ways of thinking about and framing these problems. In England, we have now the Ellison Institute, just started. That's £1 billion going into research. A rounding error in mainland China, but it's certainly a significant sum for us. And that's 7,000 researchers in one institute focused on interdisciplinarity and with commercialization to scale fast from the get-go, a very different model. And it means that the nature of the demand on us is changing. There is now mission-led, outcomes-led need for research proposals, as well as the more traditional way in which research councils have sought proposals in the past. So, the Anthropocene is a contested concept, I appreciate that, but I'll use it for the sake of this morning. And I would also say this, that you can look at the problems facing our planet, the biosphere, all living species, and you can see them as the result of success, the success of research and development over 200 years. We've become very good indeed in some aspects of our R&D that has led to exploitation of natural resources and so on. And so when I worked with more than 100 early career researchers here in Hong Kong in October about what counted for them as personal career success, the vast majority said making a contribution to the solution of these problems. But, and this was the interesting point, they really didn't understand or know about how to work into the interdisciplinary spaces. And they were still very much concerned that their career would be in one single field. And that, I think, is one of the challenges that we face as we design research systems and research funding systems and the training, actually how we bridge that gap, that training gap, and at what point in a research career we should be looking to do so. So this is what they wanted to achieve. But I think we have quite a lot to do to help them to get there. So let me come then to, I was asked to, the call for action. So this is going to sound a bit like a typical public servant, forgive me, it's all about audit and analysis and so on. But let's see what you make of this. So first of all, and really this is aimed at kind of research council, government level, and maybe at associations of presidents. Audit. Audit the left-hand pan, the right-hand pan of the scales, identify the gaps, and then, for example, use in Hong Kong your convening power, your negotiating power, your persuasion power, your political muscle to fill the gaps and have a slightly more coherent tapestry of research opportunities than the present slightly chaotic one. Where is the talent being wasted? fix the pipelines. We all know, for example, the difficulty for outstanding women researchers as they go through their late 20s and early 30s, the conflicts that arise with the demands of setting up family, elder care, and so on. That's going to be true in Hong Kong as well as elsewhere. And then two things. As the former chief exec of HEFC responsible for the REF, I think one should continue to evaluate whether things like the REF actually are measuring the right things and if they are dynamic enough as we go into this next part of the 21st century. We've just had an interesting pushback in our sector. We had to pause our REF. We had 6 months pause, and we've now yesterday come to a very British compromise. So the weighting on outputs, the quality measure, has crept back up a bit. It was 60, went down to 50, now up to 55. And the environment has dropped a bit. It was 15, went up to 25, back to 20. But the trend is there. The trend is definitely towards the environment, what makes for a really dynamic research environment, and possibly increasingly away from publications. And when I talk to investors in early spin-outs, and indeed Series A, Series B investors, and indeed the government, one of the things they always ask me is, actually, Madeleine, really, how much high-quality research is really going on? And is publication the only measure of assessing the worth of what is going on? For sure, if it's Nature, but if it's a third-rate journal with a, not a great H factor, and so on and so on. Is this what we're paying for? Is this the ROI that our taxpayers and businesses can expect? And it's a sharp challenge. And I think it's one that we see being given to us increasingly. And the other thing I'd say, again, from the Brexit experience, is the point about, again, for research councils, is where are the emerging research clusters in the world? We all think we know where the existing research strengths are. That's where we want to collaborate. That's where we establish the frameworks for collaboration. But what we had to do when Brexit threatened was look for emerging research cultures elsewhere outside Europe, and particularly in the Southern Hemisphere. Obviously, we knew Australia well, but there is more than that. And I think that observatory type function, where you are looking at the AI and its capabilities and how that's going to affect research, and you're looking at where new emerging research clusters are coming, and you're creating the conditions for universities and their PIs to collaborate effectively. I do think that that's one of the modern functions of a research council. So, with Hong Kong showing the way in so many aspects, and if I'm allowed a shout out for CityU, actually, on interdisciplinarity, Hong Kong itself is absolutely in the top 1, 2, 3, and CityU I was delighted to see as a positive case study in the last World Ranking Survey. With Hong Kong showing the way, and with the goodwill and the opportunities that come from these new players and from the need to meet the challenges of the global problems, the complex global problems we face, I think the answer to the question, if we ever get there, there we go, are we fit for the future? Yes, I think we can be fit for the future, but we need places like Hong Kong to get us there. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Atkins. So please be seated on stage. Thank you very much for your insightful sharings. And now, may I please invite Professor Tony Chan, former president of King Abdullah University of Science and Technology and the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, to share his insight with us. Professor Chan, please.
Great honor to be back in Hong Kong and to see many old friends. I look forward to meeting new friends. It's amazing that RGC is almost 35 years old. I remember when it was founded. I was not in Hong Kong back then. So I was told to try to save some time, so I try to speed up. I think this audience probably knows the topic at least as well as I do, if not more. So I don't want to repeat all the bullets on my slides. I put down my 3 affiliations that are most relevant to the topic of today. Perhaps the NSF one is actually the most direct, okay, because that's a national funding agency. Okay, we'll go from there. So I had a chance to look at Professor Atkins' talk, and I think we have some overlap. I missed Jean Bloch's talk, but we had a chance to talk before I came. So I thought I would talk about or reflect a little bit on the past, present, and future of research university. But what I talk about will apply to other research organizations as well. You know, what I'm doing this reminds me of the Clint Eastwood movie. You know, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You see, actually, it's not inappropriate. Okay. So the past, you know, we have someone from Cambridge, almost 1,000 years old. You know, back then, the university was very different. You know, it was, you know, the church, the independent scholars, supported by kings and emperors, and I call the wealthies, or high net worth individuals. That's a new term. Literally, is the ivory tower. I was just in Cambridge a month ago. Literally, you see the ivory towers. By choice, it's autonomous. It wants to be separated from the rest of society, including industry, you know. I think Humboldt was a major trend, you know, to integrate research and integration. Now, coming to state support, public support of research, that's a relatively recent phenomenon. I went to ChatGPT and looked up these dates. You see the US, I work in NSF, it's founded in the 1950s. UK, the Research Council, they say it's 1960s, okay. And China, I remember when that was founded, the NSFC in Hong Kong in 1991, as you know. So I think the past with the university or research organization to focus on talent development, students, creation of knowledge, of course, and in a way, upward mobility of people in society. Curiosity-driven and basic research, that was why they existed. And of course, we are encouraged to have global partnerships, have people going back and forth. Many of us, those of us who are from Hong Kong, went overseas to study, many in UK and US, with 2 representatives here, and elsewhere as well. So that's the past. Now today, completely different, I would say. There's increasing expectation and actually demand from society on return on investment, because after all, most of us are, even private university, get a lot of state support, okay? They want economic impact, jobs, and so on. And many students look at university as just a stepping stone, okay? You know, they look at Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and so on and so forth. They don't even want to stay. The latest one was Meta recruited this Alexander Wang, right, to head the AI. Even today, he's under 30 years old. He dropped out of MIT. So you see the idea, it's just a stepping stone. But more crucially, I have observed that the universities have become cultural and political battleground. I'm sure many of you know, academic autonomy is being threatened, global talent flow is being disrupted, and curiosity-driven research being de-emphasized. I think Professor Atkins also mentions that. And I want to emphasize the last point. That is, we're in the choir. I don't have to convince you why universities are important, why research is important. But most of society needs to be convinced. And we as a group is discovering too late that what we take for granted is actually not out there. You just have to look at what's happening in the US. Now, I don't have an answer, I don't have a crystal ball for the future. So all these points I point out have question marks at the end. But these are, as you know as well. I think the first point, it's actually being talked about a lot now. Many people, like Peter Thiel, for example, none of you know, say, why go to university? Does it still matter? We have to find a way to address political pressure without selling our soul. I would say that's the word I would use. How to mitigate the geopolitical situation and the disruption of talent flows, how to balance or rebalance curiosity-driven research with goal-oriented research, and how to communicate better. I think that's really the key. I think we don't take it seriously. I think in terms of communication. Okay, so hopefully you see that. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly, I think probably with a question mark. So now, university research organizations don't exist in a vacuum. So you have to step back. I want to step in and look at what's happening in the world. The world is in a mess. I don't know, you probably know, most of you agree with me. Those are some of the points you know. I don't have to go through them. Okay, we are in Hong Kong, which is part of China. So US-China is affecting Hong Kong. I'm actually very happy to hear Professor Atkins saying, thank God for Hong Kong, because it's different. But I can tell you, coming from US, Jin, you can correct me if I'm wrong, in the American political scene, Hong Kong is part of China, more so than before. So, okay, so export of GPU chips and everything to go with it. A lot of wars going on, a lot of the old order losing influence. I'm wearing an SDG pin. Who has talked about it now? 5 years ago, a lot of people talk about that. Today, no, UN, G7, G20. The recent one, where was it? In Mexico, or I forgot, somewhere. Where? South Africa, sorry. You see, I don't even know where it was. I think neither President Trump or President Xi Jinping attended. Okay, so I think Saudi Arabia in it. I don't think the Crown Prince MBS was there either. So to tell you 3 of the 20. EU, NATO, okay. So whereas the new alliances, you hear a lot in the news. BRICS Plus, Belt and Road Initiative, RCEP, AUKUS, and Shanghai Cooperative, all these things you hear a little bit more. So that's the sort of new order, new alliances. All right, I live in the US. I spent most of my career in the US, and the US is the gorilla in the room, okay, in terms of research organization. So I want to spend just a few bullet points on that. I think the first point I don't have to belabor, the US has been dominating since the Second World War. Now in the US, there's a consensus that China is enemy number 1 across the board, okay? And the US public, not just the politicians in Washington, D.C., are completely convinced because they're influenced by the mass media. Wars going on, the US dollar, at least in, especially view in Asia, being weaponized. US has a lot of domestic problem. I don't have to, I'm American, so I can honestly say we have a lot of problems. Jin, you can, I mean, I list some of them here, so we don't have to go into that in great detail to save time. What about China? China is not without problems either. I mentioned some of them, you probably know about them. But I've noticed a kind of change recently in terms of the response to the rivalry between the US. So again, since I don't have a lot of time, I would just leave it there. You know, you can have your own interpretation. I'm supposed to say something about Saudi Arabia and Middle East because that's my most updated information. I don't have time, really. Maybe look at the picture, okay? The one on the upper left is the foreign minister of China in Beijing with the foreign ministers of Saudi Arabia and Iran shaking hands. That is big news in the Middle East. Probably should be around the world. The petrodollar has been stopped, at least agreement. Saudi Arabia has invited to join BRICS, has not joined yet as far as I know. Hong Kong, you see the chief executive there, it was 2023 with the Minister of Investment of Saudi Arabia. I happen to be there. The bottom 2 you probably don't know. Saudi Arabia, the Ministry of Education is requiring the students, high school students, middle school students, to spend 2 hours a week learning Chinese. So if you go to Saudi Arabia, you go to the airport, everything is trilingual, Arabic, English, and Chinese. Okay, let me come back to this, right? Research university, especially in the US, is in crisis. I already mentioned all these. NSF and NIH are cutting research support. So UCLA is right there in the bullseye. See, UCLA is being penalized $1.2 billion. Jin, you should be happy that you're not chancellor anymore, okay? $500 million of grant, but you know the details are going to happen before you step down. The latest good news is the Math Institute, IPAM, of which I was one of the founders, just got some funding renewed. But let me tell you, this is in the news. The regular budget that was approved was $5 million a year. It was approved now is $1.7 million. So 1/3, and people are happy about it. It's not zero, at least. So that's the, okay, so all these stuff are happening. Students are being curtailed. President have resigned. Jin, you just retired rather than resign, so that's good. Research funding being cut. Many U.S.-China joint ventures are being stopped. I can mention 5 or 6 immediately. Very little pushback until recently. I think, you see Harvard, MIT, Brown, and so on are being pushing back. Student mobility are being curtailed. H-1 visa, costs $100,000 to do, and many, in fact, I read the South China Morning Post from time to time. So almost every other day, there's some news about somebody, some faculty from Harvard, from MIT, from Stanford are coming back to Hong Kong or to China, and they make a big deal out of it. I was recently involved with this dialogue on Asian universities. So we did it 11 times. I was the moderator for the last one. So it's about actual tectonic shift in global talent chain. So on it was the director of the Indian Institute of Technology of Delhi and Mumbai. These are the 2 biggest ones. So he mentioned this, second to last digit. Only 10 years ago, I mean, I'm sure many know, 90% of IT graduates go to the US. It is a creme de la creme from India. Today, it's reversed. Only 10% go. And he said, those are not the best. No, he said it. I did not say it, okay? I don't know how to, because why? Because India has so many opportunities. People want to stay and pursue their opportunity. I don't know what's happening in China, but you can guess. Okay, so now I'm coming to the last 2 slides, I think. So how do we do collaborations in such an environment? I think Professor Atkins also mentioned. Dual use, mentioned before. You have competition, but also the urgent needs for collaboration, the global problem. And research university, and research in particular, is at the heart of this paradox, this tug of war. I don't have a good solution, okay? We need more creative ways in order to do that. We should not give up. We should really try to continue to collaborate. So instead of going through this, I recently wrote an article that is published by Elsevier. It's called Not Alone. The platform is online. You can say Not Alone and Elsevier, you'll find this. So the title of my article is called The Role of Research University in a Changing World Order. So that's very much relevant. So I made 4 recommendations. This was published maybe 6 months ago, but already a lot of things. So I think basically the first bullet is, you don't want to bend with the shifting political winds, because once you bend, you go down, you've lost your soul, and it will only get worse. Now, easier said than done. If I'm president of Harvard, it's not so easy to say, go away, okay? The other one is, universities try to be proactive. I think right now what I've observed is completely passive, okay? Some politicians come and say, oh, what do we do? And do we hire a lawyer? Do we hire a lobbyist? Whatever. It's too late. You have to get way ahead of time. I think we have to reaffirm our commitment to academic freedom, because without that, university doesn't have really a role, to me. And we should also shape global narrative around that. This is the last slide. So I should say a word about Hong Kong, if you allow me. I'm supposed to. So one is, I think, this is my personal opinion, okay? One is, I think we need a mindset change, okay? I left Hong Kong to go to US to study, okay? America is the shining city on the hill, no doubt, okay? But today, the world is a little bit more distributed. So I think, for example, you have ASEAN, you have Middle East, you have BRICS, you have many other places. There's Europe. Europe is also Western, Eastern Europe. There are many, many places you can go. Now, but as we do that, Hong Kong has to distinguish itself from mainland China and maybe Singapore. Singapore is actually, in a way, competing strongly with Hong Kong. Now, one thing I always say is that Hong Kong should make Hong Kong an attractive place to live, okay? And then the fact that Hong Kong has many top-ranked universities will only come with it. I went to Stanford. When I was there, Silicon Valley was farmland. You go to San Jose, they actually grow vegetables there. San Francisco is like Hong Kong. Then later on it came, but San Francisco has a re-emerging as a tech center because people want to live there. All you have to do is go on the train from Palo Alto to San Francisco. At the end of the day, it's full of people who work at Silicon Valley. You know, with Hong Kong and even Shenzhen, you can see that there's a possibility there. Last time I wanted that chart I just downloaded. So this is in AI, the most influential organization, research organization. It's too small for you to see. The leftmost one is Google. And the different years, okay? I think the one on the left is the most recent, the 2023. The second block is Tsinghua University. Probably this is out of date. What I heard is Peking or Tsinghua University is #1 in the world today, okay? Third one is CMU, Carnegie Mellon. Fourth one is Microsoft. And then you have the middle one, the one in the middle is HKUST. I mean, I didn't make this up, okay? And then the Chinese Academy of Sciences and Meta, NVIDIA. So can you imagine HKUST in the middle of all these FANG stuff? But this actually says that the industry is playing a much, much bigger role. And Hong Kong is at the table. So we should actually take advantage of that. So that's but change mindset. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Chan. So please be seated on stage. And now may I please invite Professor James Teng, Secretary General's University Grants Committee, to come on stage to moderate the Q&A session for us. Professor Teng, please.
Well, what an inspiring session with our 3 keynote speakers. We are, I think, running out of time a bit, but I'll try to engage with our speakers and see whether we can learn even more from our speakers. I'll start by asking Jin, who kicked the ball rolling, with an overview of some of the challenges we face in the US and whether we could find a way of addressing the common problems. One issue that I think is in everyone's mind may be away from the political challenges. We do have a pretty significant disruption to higher education and research through generative AI. We have done some analysis of the research proposals submitted to the RGC, and AI comes up as one of the top keywords that are included in the submissions. I don't know whether this is just everybody wanted to put that word in to enhance the success of their RGC research submissions. But Jin, forget about the politics for the time being. With GAI and all these transformative technologies, how do we build a scientific ecosystem that's not only innovative, but also deeply ethical, inclusive, and perhaps, I think there's another common theme earlier, trusted by the public?
So thank you. So I'm not an expert on AI, but I'm certainly confronting it even in the classroom now with a whole set of issues. So I came up with maybe 4 principles to think about. You know, one is obviously transparency and explainability with a clear audit trail, because sometimes one really has to understand really how a particular recommendation or viewpoint was arrived at. I think transparency and explainability are critical. I think accountability and human oversight is really critical. And you know, in the US, we've had some celebrated, actually, unfortunate cases of suicides by young people getting advice from AI that clearly does not have an appropriate level of human oversight on the program. A third area is fairness and bias mitigation. And there's great concern, especially by more underrepresented populations in the US, that AI is going to work against diversity. And there has to be some real concern about how you make sure the fairness and there's bias mitigation. And finally, certainly with medical information, everyone's very concerned about privacy and security. So I'd say those, you know, transparency, accountability, fairness, privacy and security have to be elements of any equitable AI system development.
Right, thank you, Jin. I wonder whether our other speakers have any short response to the challenge of AI.
So I think every country and every university is looking at these issues right now. I suppose I would say that I see AI, personal view, as a really important tool for the research endeavor. That there are, of course, dangers with the current generation of AI tools, but if we remember that outstanding research requires integrity to the data, a healthy dose of skepticism, which at the moment AI tools are rather bad at, curiosity, which on the whole, the current generation of AI tools is not there, but the next maybe, then I think we're able to keep a perspective. I do think that it is the role of research councils and universities more generally to be on top of where the capabilities are developing and to be holding the workshops and the training and so on and the discussions so that we are not kind of on the back foot all the time with it and worried about cheating and worried about those things. So I do think there's an observatory function here that we need.
Right. Thank you.
Jane, can I quick?
Yeah, please.
So I used to work on AI-related research, computer vision. So I've looked under the hood, so to speak. So don't believe all the hype. That's number one, okay? Second is, I think today is more important to learn about AI, not the technical issues, but the critical thinking part of AI. When is it fake? How can you trust it? Do you trust ChatGPT? I've seen hallucination from ChatGPT, okay? And is it going to get AGI? I doubt it. Anyway.
Thank you, thank you. Now, perhaps related to that, in terms of the challenges of the transformative technologies, and I think Tony also mentioned earlier that there are other organizations, industry, quickly moving into the field and delivering work that have been traditionally done by universities. And Madeleine, you talk about whether we can deal with those problems as universities. We have been successful, I think, the higher education system for a long time and face many challenges. But this time round, a number of different challenges seems to be convergent: political, social, technological. So is what we call modern university can still deliver the science of the future? You ask can, perhaps with a question mark. Can we? Maybe, I don't know, Madeleine, you want to kick off that?
Well, yes, of course, I'm going to say yes, we can. But it is a partnership model, I think, that we're looking at. And as I said, the arrival of new forms of research funding with not new agendas, but with more focused agendas around impact, application, translation. If we don't engage with that, then I think we are left with just one part of the research environment in which we are participant. The frustration, we need to pay attention to those who are frustrated with us. For example, in the UK, our former government, we change them quite frequently, but the last one, but the current, was really felt that our research might be wonderful, might be great, Nature publications and so on, but it wasn't ambitious enough. It wasn't taking enough ambitious risks, and it wasn't enabling really new, radical, off-the-wall ideas to come through. And so the government set up a new agency, the Advanced Research and Innovation Agency, ARIA, modeled, of course, on DARPA, which many of you will know, but without the aggressive D on the front. And that has set itself over 2 years to be very different from a traditional research council. So this is the moonshot territory. You've got a good idea, 2 pages is all you need for the application. They have enormous flexibility in how they divvy up their money. And they want you to try it out and fail fast. So moonshots, fail fast, take the new radical ideas, give them some space. And with fellowships that are like Frontier Fellowships, Blue Skies Fellowships, all you need is an idea. They will give you a stipend for a year just to think about and develop that idea. And that was felt to be a missing bit from our research environment. And I think, yeah, my sense also listening to the investors, we haven't stacked the funding properly. You get grant here, and then maybe you do a startup over here. Then you've got to find Series A funding, Series B funding. It's not stacked. And the sovereign wealth funds, again, critical of us for not thinking about how you really take research into impact at scale and fast and well, because we are very inefficient in the way we structure the funding. So those are 2 examples.
Right, thank you. Can I turn that question to Tony, because you also talk about whether we need to do things differently and rethink.
Yeah, first of all, this has happened before in history. The last thing was robotics. I remember some robotics company went to CMU and hired a whole robotics group, completely. Faculty, student, postdocs. Robotics is still active at CMU as far as I know, okay? So I think university has to find a new way to work with it. University cannot compete now today directly with industry in terms of infrastructure. These companies have a lot more GPUs than any university can dream to have. Their research budget is actually probably bigger than NSF if you put them together. So, but they don't have students. Even though many of these people came through there, the faculty, if you look at the Turing Award winners, the 3 in AI, Yanakun is at MIU still at MIU even though he's starting a new company. Jeff Hinton was with Toronto, and Bangio was in Montreal. So they want to maintain the connection to academia. So academia want to make sure that's a reason for them to continue that association, I think. But we cannot just sit on our laurels and things will happen.
Thank you. With time running out, perhaps I just ask one final question for our 3 keynote speakers. If you have one piece of advice for Hong Kong's research community and various stakeholders, our Secretary of Education is here, university leaders are here. How do we maintain and develop our role as an international hub for education, innovation, and attracting talents? Maybe Jin, you want to start?
I would say the same thing if I were asked in the US. We've got to guard our academic freedom. We have to have faculty have to have a freedom to feel that they can investigate areas that they find exciting without many constraints. So I think that's going to be very important.
Thank you.
So I would simply say, go for it. Hong Kong is an exemplar that we absolutely salute. And the way that you are thinking, the strategy you are evolving, the positioning, the use of your political and convening power, yeah, just go for it.
Good advice. And Tony?
Hong Kong is doing very well, right? So the education secretary is here, the only university with 5 universities in the top, 100. But I think we shouldn't stop there. You have to turn that into impact and demonstrate return on investment to society. I don't think we can do it. Just think about it. I was thinking about it. You go to Boston, you have all these research labs, from companies set up there. Has any of the big companies set up R&D labs in Hong Kong? So the Alibaba, the Tencent, all of that, they should. Even China, never mind globally. So, but this requires a little bit top-down planning. So you don't want to be completely top-down. You need to so some sort of change of mindset. One of the small bullet points on my slide is that we should review how we fund. I mean, Tim is sitting there, 2 Tims actually. So how RGC has been basically the same structure for 35 years. Tim, you remember with this team, we had a retreat of UGC or RGC where some of these ideas were tossed around. I don't think, as far as I can see, anything has changed. The world has changed. So RGC should do a review. That's my suggestion.
Thank you, Tony. I think you're giving us a very big task. The Secretariat colleagues are going to express their appreciation.
I should say something like that.
Thank you, thank you. Very useful advice. I'm sure we can continue this conversation for hours, and in a way, the next roundtable discussion will have our university leaders, moderated by UGC Chair, to continue this conversation and then for the rest of today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor. You may now proceed off stage. Thank you very much for giving us such thought-provoking and engaging sessions. Thank you for sharing with us your wonderful perspective. It was certainly a fruitful session to learn from our esteemed speakers. Not only did we reflect on the past, we have also envisioned the future of research. And now, I hope you're all ready for another insightful discussion as we're going to proceed to another plenary sessions. So in this upcoming sessions, we're going to have a President's Roundtable which focuses on Hong Kong's role. This will be a dynamic panel discussion which our panel presidents will explore the city's pivotal roles and positions in global research and innovation. So soon, we will be inviting our distinguished groups of heads and representatives of Hong Kong leading universities to come on stage as our panelists. And we can't wait to be inspired by their insightful perspective. And now, without any further ado, I would like to invite the following speakers to come on stage. May I please invite Professor Anderson Shum, Vice President Research, City University of Hong Kong. Next, may I please invite Professor Martin Wong, Prof, Hong Kong Baptist University. Moving on, may I invite Professor S. Joe Chin, President, Ningnan University. Moving on, may I please invite Professor Mai Har Sham, Vice Chancellor and Vice President Research, the Chinese University of Hong Kong. Next, may I please invite Professor John Lee, JP, President, the Education University of Hong Kong. Moving on, may I please invite Professor Jin-guang, BBS JP, President of the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. Next, may I invite Professor Nancy Yip, SBS MHJP, President of the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. And finally, may I please invite Professor Max Shem, Vice President and Vice Chancellor Research, the University of Hong Kong. And now, I would also like to invite the moderator of this session. May I please invite Mr. Tim Loy, GBS JP, Chairman of the University Grants Committee. Welcome our moderator and panelists. And now, without any further ado, I'm going to pass over the stage to our moderator, Mr. Loy, please.
Well, thank you and for joining this second plenary session. Given the time pressure, I think, and the size of the panel, we only have about 35 minutes for this program. So I will skip with my introductory remarks because in the last session, the speakers have all brought our attention to these matters. So given the size of the panel, representatives from 8 UGC-funded institutions, I have a series of questions to raise, and I would like to direct it to specific panel members to respond. So we don't need 8 responses for the same questions, okay? So the first question I would like to raise is for Professor Anderson Shum, City University. The question is, you know, how your institution, are they actively deepening ties with the Chinese mainland while simultaneously strengthening global connections? And in the process, what are the challenges? And please try and keep your response to within 3 minutes.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Lui. So this is Anderson Shum representing City University of Hong Kong. As many of you may know, internationalization is one of the key pillars in our vision at City University of Hong Kong. So both Chinese mainland, our home country, as well as the overseas partnerships are all very important. The key thing that we recognize is that we cannot take a one-size-fits-all approach, because different countries, different cities, different parts of the world, and different institutions have their special features, and we have to recognize that. For example, we work a lot with leading global partners. For example, with Columbia University, we have a long-standing joint bachelor's degree program covering areas like business, computer science, and global affairs. And recently, we have a new development where now we allowed applicants worldwide to enter year 1 to CityU Hong Kong before transferring to Columbia. So that's one area on the education. And of course, with the University of Cambridge, our great European partner, we have a lot of different programs, one of which is related to research, which is supporting postdoctoral researchers in areas such as climate change, healthcare, material science, urban well-being, etc. And this is a program where joint supervision across 6 Cambridge departments and 4 CityU Hong Kong colleges are established to foster young scholar mobility and also global talent cultivation. Another one that, of course, should be mentioned was actually facilitated greatly by Dame Madeleine. This is our CityU Hong Kong Lucy Cavendish College Scholarships that was launched in October 2024. It's a program that would prioritize underrepresented and also disadvantaged talents so that we can nurture future global leaders equipped with knowledge that are very important and across fields such as sustainability and leadership skills. And of course, with other parts of the world as well, we have partnership now with Collège de France, French Academy of Sciences, and also on material science specifically, we have a new institute for materials innovation in collaborations with EPFL from Switzerland. So these are some of our leading global partners. On other partners, for example, those that are from Belt and Road, we have collaborations with Kazakhstan. So the idea is that we'll bring a lot of Kazakhstan students to CityU, to Hong Kong, so that they can have internship and experience with our mainland enterprises and our environment. So when in future our mainland enterprises expand their business in Belt and Road countries, they have very familiar potential employees. And of course, in our mainland, we have a lot of strategies as well. We have our Jin-guang campus that started in August last year, and also a lot of research center in Shenzhen, Chengdu. Very strategically, we have different focus. For example, in Futian, Shenzhen, we have focus on meta science, and with industries as well, with BioSteel, with China Unicom, on areas that are important. So the approach is certainly covering both Chinese mainland, international, and also very strategically. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question I would like to raise to Professor Martin Wong as well as President Zhou Qin. We talked a lot about collaboration with Chinese mainland, in particular the proximity of the GBA. So I want you to talk to us about how you leverage partnership with GBA cities and beyond to create a truly integrated innovation corridor. Perhaps, can I ask Professor Martin Wong to speak first?
So for the collaborations at Hong Kong BU, at the bottom-up level. Many of our professors collaborate with GPA, universities all over China internationally. And this is actually very important. Through these collaborations, we established a pipeline of talented students coming, PhD students coming to study at Hong Kong BU. And I myself benefit from such a model. My entire career has been in the US except the last few years, and I graduated almost 70 PhD students. And most of them came from this sort of pipeline. Guarantee they have the right experience, guarantee they have the ability to do the research and so on and so forth. Then at the bottom-up level, this is at the faculty level. Faculty level, we actually at Hong Kong BU has a lot of collaborations with established joint programs with many GPA universities and also universities in China, establishing joint master program, 2+2 programs, and so on and so forth. And at the top-down level, this is actually, we had the BNBU. 20 years ago, we are the first university in Hong Kong established a joint collaborations with established a sister campus in Zhuhai. This is ahead of all the other universities in Hong Kong. And what we are doing now is trying to bring the two universities together, tightly integrate the two sides through a lot of joint programs, a lot of joint appointments, joint PhD student supervisions, and so on and so forth. And we are seeing that in the near future, the two universities will be together closer than ever before. Thank you.
Thank you. President Chin.
Okay, 3 minutes. So I would say next to GBA, the Greater Bay Area, especially Shenzhen, we should try to understand further and take advantage of the pace of innovations on the other side of the river. Really, we in Hong Kong do not necessarily iterate as fast as Shenzhen does, and this is very important for innovations. You can see how things are developing and changing in a matter of months in the Greater Bay Area. Here we talk about annual things. And also the other side of the equation is in the US, the Silicon Valley, where the AI companies iterate every 2 months. You can find at least 10 new releases that are breakthroughs after the release of ChatGPT. That was only 3 years ago. And you talk about DeepSeek, it's less than a year, okay? It might appear as 5 years there, but it's less than a year after DeepSeek was released. So I think for us in Hong Kong, we are very agile or small enough to adapt. So we have to take advantage of what's going on elsewhere in the US, elsewhere, and also in mainland, especially in GBA. The pace of iteration and innovations I can see there is amazing. Having said that, 2 small suggestions. One is we should assess our Hong Kong universities at maybe bi-monthly rate rather than annual. We are able to amass, attract huge talents, let's say into Lingnan University, just in a matter of 2 years. Come to look at us. I know UGC will visit us in a month, okay? And the other small suggestion is also how do we step into this interdisciplinary AI development? I suggest that the RGC may think about an area or an interdisciplinary area on AI. Therefore, you have huge amount of submissions that can be evaluated together. Thank you.
Thank you, President Chin. The next question is for Professor Sham from Chinese University, Hong Kong. We talk about talents, right? So in an era of changing global environment, how are you making Hong Kong a very attractive and even irresistible destination for young talents from around the world to come and join our institutions in Hong Kong?
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to echo Professor Tony Chan's comment about attracting talents, is that he mentioned that in order for the young talents particularly to come to Hong Kong, we need to make Hong Kong attractive for them. We need to maintain ourselves as a vibrant, competitive environment for the young talents to come. For academic institutions, I think that the bright people would like to be with bright people, so the like attracts like. I think all of us, our 8 funded institutions in Hong Kong, all of us are doing very well. We need to continue to do well, and if we are maintaining our status as an international science and technology and education hub, then the young people would wish to come. They don't want to be anywhere else. They would want to be coming here. I also want to share a little bit about sort of what we have been observing in terms of our research activities in CHK as well as in Hong Kong. I think that deep-rooted in all our academic professors in our universities, we are very collaborative. 80% of all of CHK's research output are with partnerships. 40% of them are with international partners. The other 40% are with Chinese mainland partners. So the value of our network is invaluable. It is way beyond the funding that RGC or other funding bodies are provided. So building on this very, very strong international network and Chinese mainland network, if the city is attractive for the young people to come, added to our expected expansion of admission of non-local students up to 50% in the next few years. CHK is all planned to recruit at all levels so that we'll be able to maintain our teacher-student ratio and maintaining our vitality. This is very much in our vision in the next 5 years. So we wish that we will be Asia's most desirable university, the most innovative university, exactly aligned with what the Hong Kong SAR government wishes the role of the universities, to be an international science and technology hub and a desirable place to study. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is for President John Lee from Education University, Hong Kong. How is your institution adapting in terms of setup, curriculum, and student experiences to be offered to nurture our future leaders who possesses not only just technical skills, but also resilience, creativity, and social responsibility? So what are you doing at EDU?
Thank you, Chairman Tim. Colleagues, we have done a few things. Given the time limitation, I would like to highlight that we have at EDU Hong Kong redesigned our programs and also learning pathways to ensure our students and graduates are both professionally excellent and values-driven. We pay a lot of attention in the last few years on values education, ranging from national security education, patriotic education, life education, positive education, whatever positivity you can think of. So resilient, creativity, and social responsibility part of the package or curriculum package, so to speak. We have also, because we are the largest teacher education provider, so we also, in our curriculum, provide formal exit requirements for teachers' professional conduct and ethics. For student experience, we are shaping our student experience with greater emphasis on AI and digital competencies, and also at the same time embedded with Chinese values and culture. We have a few elaborations, examples such as our partnerships recently with Hong Kong Science Technology Parks and also Cyberport. The former emphasize startup, and the latter Cyberport, we explore further entrepreneurship in education technology. We also create capstone pathways providing our students to apply AI and other emerging technologies in fields related to sports science, heritage education technology, and digital communication. Internationalization, regional engagement, definitely one of our key strategies and missions. We established a lot of links, especially in Belt and Road, including setting up a joint research center under the ministry support at Kyrgyzstan. We are also having a lot of research institute collaboration with different parts of the world, and including Middle East, Finland, and so on. Just to echo that, we still maintain very strong ties with US and UK. Next year, we will have the second Harvard EDU Hong Kong Stanford Education Symposium in May. And we maintain a very strong research collaboration with UCL, IOE. So to finalize it, I welcome this particular question from Chairman Tim, because I believe student learning should be coast-connected research, teaching and learning, as well as entrepreneurship development in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we've heard from the Secretary of Education that Hong Kong is implementing many initiatives in enhancing our international presence with a view to establishing our city as a post-secondary education hub. So I would like to ask President J.G. Teng from PolyU, what are the pointers in establishing collaboration with new international partners with a view to building strategic clusters of transformative research?
Thank you, Chairman. I think Hong Kong, despite the geopolitical tension, is still, maybe even more important, a city where the East and the West can meet and discuss, as evidenced by today's event. I think in the future, even though because of geopolitical tension, in certain areas we know that it's difficult to collaborate with the US and some other countries, but still there are many countries which are more accommodating, so we should not give up collaborating in these areas. And in addition, of course, there are other areas where people are quite happy to collaborate. So for example, we have recently, together with HKUST, being approved to set up a state key laboratory on climate resilience of coastal cities. And this is a common issue facing different countries, and there's not that much sensitivity, so we are establishing an international consortium for collaboration. This is some kind of cluster. So if we talk about research clusters, I think the main issue in Hong Kong is really we need more space to set up, bigger research platforms, more space to give them accommodation. So PolyU is in a particularly difficult situation. We have 9 hectares of land, which is about 1% of the major leading universities in the world. So we look forward to the time when the Northern Metropolis will give us more land, where you will have a university town, you will have space for the tech parks, you will have space for technology companies. Then I'm sure that you'll be able to attract a lot more companies to come to the new Northern Metropolis, because that's where they can not only collaborate with the leading talents in Hong Kong, but also those in the mainland, as well as the industrial supply chains and the huge market in the mainland. And this will, I guess this time will come. It takes a bit of time. Let's, keep up our spirit. Thank you.
Thank you, President Gigi. Geopolitics have been mentioned on numerous occasions this morning. So can I ask President Nancy Yip from HKUST, can you offer any insights about maintaining or even furthering your university's current relationship with your overseas counterparts in the current complex and sometimes very disruptive international setting? So what are you doing to make sure that we're there?
Thank you, Tim. So at HKUST, our international engagements are really anchored in our core belief that knowledge has no borders. And it is really up to us, through international collaborations, to contribute to addressing the global challenges, and many of those Professor Jin Block already mentioned in his speech. So the challenge-based collaborations, I believe, will create a stable foundation which transcends geopolitical fluctuations. So I believe that collaboration really is so firmly grounded in our shared values and our trust. So again, as mentioned earlier by Professor Jin Block and others, our commitment to academic freedom and institutional integrity really forms the bedrock of trust for our collaboration, our international partners. So we don't just maintain the relationship, but in fact, we aim to deepen our collaboration. We aim to diversify the models of partnership. For instance, In addition to student exchange, we also co-create joint academic programs. We embark on large-scale research collaboration. And I do believe that this kind of partnerships, it goes both ways. So we need to make sure our partnerships are reciprocal and mutually beneficial. So the most effective partners that we have are those that we visit. And importantly, they also reciprocate and visit. So we create this kind of interactions and opportunities for faculties of both institutions to interact and identify areas of shared interest. And so our university, we provide funding, seed funding, and also workshops where they can interact. So for me, I think this is extremely important to make sure that the partnerships are reciprocal and mutually beneficial. And I also believe that Hong Kong has a very special role to play and to bridge mainland and the international community. So HKUST, actually back in 1999, we already set up research platforms in Shenzhen, followed by other cities in the mainland. And HKUST opened the HKUST Guangzhou campus. Actually, we were the first university approved to set up such a campus after the announcement of the development plan for Greater Bay Area. And I believe that having this kind of two complementary campuses actually provide wonderful opportunities for the faculty, for the students of our partnering institutions from around the world to have a first-hand experience of the research landscape in the mainland and also the industry collaboration opportunities. So these are just some examples of what HKUST are doing in terms of international partnership. We are not just maintaining the relationship, but we aim to deepen our relationship to serve Hong Kong and the nation.
Thank you, President Nancy. Last but not least, the questions for Professor Max Shen of Hong Kong universities. Just want to look ahead a little bit. How would you see your university in 5 years' time? What would be your particular university strategic plans or vision and the areas of strength that your university would be leveraging over the course of the next 5 to 10 years?
Thank you. Now all the easy questions have been handled by my colleagues, so I'll need a little more time. Just kidding. No, I think as all my colleagues have been talking about, Hong Kong now is in the center of global education. I'll call it global education because we attract so many talents globally, not only from mainland. So I think look ahead in the next 5 to 10 years, I do see stronger faculty, stronger students. I also serve as the Dean of Graduate School in Hong Kong U, and I worked in Berkeley for 20 years. Now I can see that actually the graduate student quality is approaching, if not surpassing, the engineering PhD student in Berkeley. We get the number 1, number 2 student from Tsinghua, from Beida. It's amazing. And also I want to thank the government for providing fellowship to the students, so I don't have to pay. At Berkeley, to support a student, you need an arm and leg to support a student. But now in Hong Kong, it's only $1 million Hong Kong dollars for 4 years, right? So I do see more and better students coming to Hong Kong, better faculty members. We just recruited another Nobel Prize winner coming to Hong Kong U, and in the pipeline we have a lot of really top talents coming to Hong Kong U. So I do see, with these dynamics of better faculty members, better PhD students, and maybe more space, we can finally maybe on par with UCLA, UC Berkeley, that kind of top school. And the key is to go out. I mean, I just came back from Shanghai. We have a Shanghai Hong Kong U Center set up last weekend. We're going to have a lot of space in Shanghai. And we will be basically recruiting students from Shanghai, students from India, students from Europe to go to Shanghai, Hong Kong U. So with that, I think we have a much more space for equipments and many capacity for students. I think we are a little bit larger than PolyU, but again, we are really tiny. I think we are smaller than Columbia, and Columbia is probably the smallest university in the U.S. top leading university. But we are hopeful. I think we are getting space from mainland. We set up a campus in Europe, and then hopefully in the northern part of the city, we're also getting some space there. So we can mix all these talents and then have the truly world-leading universities in Hong Kong. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Shen. Well, thank you all panel members for your very insightful sharing. So before we close this particular session, let us think collectively and very quickly. For each panel members, what is the single most important thing that will allow Hong Kong higher education sector to actually leap forward? So very briefly, can I start with Anderson first?
I think it's to enable the flow of talents, flow of technology, and flow of all the knowledge from everywhere converging through Hong Kong.
Thank you. Martin?
So a long list come to mind, of course, talent, finance, and everything. So if I have to choose one, it would be space.
Thank you. President Joe?
Yeah, I think we are on the right track, especially in the direction of digitalization and how fast we adapt based on my experience or interactions with other colleagues elsewhere in the world.
All right. Thank you. Professor Shen?
I would like to suggest that we think about what we can offer. We are going to offer opportunities for the young talents to study. We are going to offer opportunities for people to come to Hong Kong to work in academia. We are offering opportunities for discovery, for innovation, for leadership. I think that we should look positively that there are really a lot more that we can achieve in the next few years.
Thank you. President John Lee?
I think I personally would call for a reimagination how we educate our students, how we do research, and also how we are funded based on the individual university uniqueness and strengths, and do so through national, global, interdisciplinary collaboration under the able leadership of UGC and RGC. Thank you.
That's very kind of you. Okay, President JG?
For PolyU, the only thing we need is space. We can do the rest ourselves. For Hong Kong, the university in Hong Kong must make sure your research produce significant practical impact. If you don't, in 10 years' time, the influence of Hong Kong's universities will be much less than now because the mainland universities are going to move forward in that direction.
Thank you. President Nancy?
I would say to embrace the unique role of Hong Kong to be a super connector, bridging the mainland and the international community to really drive innovation and development.
Thank you. Finally, Professor Shen?
If I have to compare Hong Kong with US, I think we need big national labs and R&D from big firms. I think Tony mentioned that. To really make we have 8 very good universities, but they need to work with the industry closely so that we can actually make much bigger impact.
Okay, thank you very much. And that really concludes this particular plenary session.